It's Two on the Aisle with me, Charles Gross, and Leslie Hoban Blake. Tonight reviews of a Thanksgiving play, Girl from the North Country, India Pale Ale, Apologia, and What the Constitution Means to Me. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Two on the Aisle. And hello, Leslie.
Hello, Charlie. I'm really well. Tonight we're going to be talking about several of my favorite plays of the season, so I'm very happy.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
It is.
All right, so let's start with the Thanksgiving play.
Which is I had such a good time at this play. I fell over laughing, and it's what Larissa Fasthorse, a Native American or indigenous person, depending on your, which is what the play is about. You see, it just made Charlie laugh, and that's what the play is about. It's about people who are so liberal and so PC that they can't figure out how to put on a Thanksgiving play for children in an elementary school without offending somebody. And every time they come up against something, they change it around, and it's hysterically funny, I think.
Or they end up going way, way overboard and have to be pulled in. There's one scene where they are literally kicking around decapitated heads.
Yes, which actually may or may not have happened. In some country. This is Larissa Fasthorse, a very attractive indigenous person. I hope I'm allowed to say that. The idea is, for example, even the two leading characters, Logan and Jackson, have non-gender specific names. The name could apply to either one of them. But Logan is played by a lady named Jennifer Bareilles, and I'm wondering if she's related to Sarah Bareilles, although I don't know and it doesn't say. And Jackson is played by the wonderful Greg Keller.
Right. And in addition, he's a street performer, essentially, who's also a teacher. She is a genius in getting grants, but not very good at pleasing the parents of the schools. 300 of them have signed a petition to get rid of her. She's also the drama teacher.
Right. And in come two other people who've been hired, a professional actress for whom there was a grant because they think she has a native blood, right, which she does not.
But they can't fire her because that would be discrimination.
And it's Margot Siebert, whom we saw in Transit. She's wonderful.
Yes.
She plays a bubble-headed California actress who knows nothing about anything.
Except when she does.
Well, yes, but what she does is like, it's... I can't even find it. And it's really interesting because it starts with four adults dressed in what we would consider typical Thanksgiving garb, as if they were at a pageant and as if they were children, a turkey, a pilgrim, etc. And then they sing a very racist, a horrible song satirical about the meaning of Thanksgiving, and then the play begins. And it's all set in the classroom of the teacher. And by the way, she's vegetarian, so although they talk about a turkey, she's very upset about it.
And Logan and Jackson, because they're dating, they have to go through this desexualizing ritual before
hysterical.
They can...
It's directed at breakneck speed, I will say, by Moritz von Stumpnagel, our old friend from Bernhard's Hamlet. And it's a 90-minute play, and it just speeds by. I want it more. Mm-hmm. I laughed at what it did for me, but the nap did not.
Right.
The nap was listed as this fantastically funny. This is hysterically funny.
I was really looking forward to this because you saw it before I did.
I did. I made you go.
Maybe I came in with outsized expectations because I sat there and I thought it was amusing.
It's the terrible thing. You never say to somebody, "This is the funniest play I've ever seen," because then they don't agree with you.
I honestly didn't find it. I found it amusing, cute. Definitely necessary in these times where people get off on costumes. This person wears their hair like that. That's wrong. This guy wears somebody else's
wig. It's political correctness. Yeah. It's what's her name just lost her job because she talked about blackface
on NBC. Right.
On NBC. Reagan,
Kelly,
whatever her name. Kelly. Right.
Right.
I mean,
and then to turn it around, Al Roker got complaints because he didn't even go whiteface. He dressed like the doctor, Doc Brown, in Back to the Future. They say, well, you're playing a white man.
Oh, all right. Well, but you see that...
And other actresses have been saying, well, white women have been criticized. Well, that look is too Asian. Your hair is too this or
Well,
that.
this play wasn't about that, but it was.
No.
But it was.
But,
it
yes.
wasn't, but it was. But by using Thanksgiving, which is so specific to the white man and the Indian, those are the two phrases that are not used. Of course, you say Caucasian, you say indigenous person.
American.
Oh, by the way, they brought Columbus in. The idea was somebody mentioned Columbus, and they went, oh no, we can't talk about Columbus because that was a terrible thing that he did to the indigenous peoples. We have to call it Indigenous Peoples Day, not Columbus Day. So it's just, where do you stop? Do you stop? If you start, you can't stop. That's the whole problem.
Right.
And I think she did a wonderful job.
And it's a timely play and educational, I think. Fun.
Well, it educates us,
but-
those of us who don't know better, you
Right.
know, into things that are offensive.
Was it funny?
I thought it was
I
hilarious.
enjoyed it. I found it amusing. I certainly didn't find it quite as funny as you did.
I did.
And how will you rank it?
Oh, I would give it a 4.5. I didn't know it was supposed to be funny. That was the whole thing. I didn't know what I was getting myself in for. So the funny was a surprise to me. I told you it was funny. What would you give it?
Right. I would give it 3.5.
Ooh. I'm tempted to push myself up to 5 in that case. I really
liked
liked
it
it.
that
I
much?
really liked it.
Again, I think it's a play that people should see because, especially after all these controversies.
And especially just before Thanksgiving. It's going to run through the 25th of November. This should air before it closes, so maybe somebody get a chance to see it.
Indeed. All right. This is Girl from the North Country.
It is Girl from the North Country.
Right. With the music of Bob Dylan and written and directed by Connor McPherson. Now, this is not, according to Mr. McPherson, a jukebox musical, nor is it a conventional book musical.
Nope.
And you know what? That is 100% accurate.
It is a play with music.
Yes. Well, it's kind of like, I think you said it best.
It underscores.
It underscores.
Yeah.
It's like a movie soundtrack, and these are the songs
Thank
of Dylan. Although, if you are looking for, let's see, I don't think twice times they are changing, Mr. Tambourine, they are not included. But here is the problem. This story, which takes place during the Depression, in presumably in a Dust Bowl area, is very thin and very undeveloped. And the songs are called upon, whether intentionally or not, to fill in the gaps.
No, I think that's very intentional.
So they are asked to do the job of a book musical, but as he says, it's not a book musical, therefore they don't do the job, and therefore the play really comes off very weakly, the saving point being that you get these Dylan songs and a cast that, quite frankly, sings them with a much greater range than Bob Dylan.
Mayor Winningham, whom we've known for years, and then suddenly out of her mouth comes a voice of an angel. Why has this woman never done? She's a middle-aged woman now. Why has she never done a musical? Her
She's
voice.
not doing a musical.
No, but she sings a song.
Yes.
They all sing songs, and sometimes it's a whole group that sings, and sometimes it's individuals. And I question you're questioning his choice of music. It's a dark, dank, dry, Dust Bowl play, and everybody has problems, and nobody has any money. So it's dark Dylan music, and God knows there's dark Dylan music as well as other kinds of Dylan music.
I think the setting is very appropriate.
Yeah.
But I think the stories are not all that interesting. Is there anything new about this? Is there anything we haven't seen before? Does it give us interesting enough characters to say, okay?
It does for me.
In my opinion, it does not. And the story needs the music. But the music really isn't supposed to be, it's supposed to be enhancing a much stronger story, but what it needs, this does need to be a book musical because it needs songs to fill in the gaps that the story lacks.
Okay. McPherson just won an Oscar for his screenplay for 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. He's a strong writer. We've seen a lot of his plays. And this has a lot of elements of his plays in it. The kinds of problems that people have, the kind of spiritual lives they either do or do not lead. The fact that ghosts come into the story, which he loves to write about ghosts. So there are all of those things in here. if you were given a particular writer's music and told to write a play using that music, which is all that he set out to do, to write a play using that music, but not to write a musical, I dare you to come out any better than he did. That's that. The storyline is there, thin or not.
As I often say to people when asked such a question, I'm not a playwright. So would I do better than a professional playwright? Probably not. Which is why my play is not. I don't have a play that's there. But since he is a professional playwright, I do expect him to do a better job than he has done here.
Well, this is one of those.
With the exception of Pretty Woman, where if they said, if you think the lyrics are so bad, go write better ones. And if someone did come and say that to me, I'd say, give me 3 months and I will.
I think this is brilliant. I think what he did was brilliant. I think he took, and the casting is impeccable.
Except Stephen Bogardus doesn't sing. We loved him in On a Clear Day.
I agree with you. I agree with you. I understand. Yes, we did. We thought it was wonderful, and suddenly to see him again. And Mark Kudish is in this play. Robert Joy is in this play. I can't tell you who they play because Tom Nellis.
No
it's
problems with
complicated.
the cast.
And Mayor Whittingham plays this really this woman who's
and doesn't the gun appear at some point?
Pardon me?
Doesn't a gun in the play appear at some point? I think.
Yes, someone gets killed at some point too. But it's just. How about if we turn this around? How about instead of saying that the play doesn't suit the music, what about saying that the music came first and the play was written around it? Wouldn't that be different in your mind?
The play does not suit the music.
I
said the play does suit the music. I just said it's too thinly written.
Okay. Sometimes
to provide a proper dramatic evening.
Okay.
And the music, the way it's used, is forced to fulfill a function that the director specifically says it was never meant to fulfill.
Okay, I understand your interpretation. I disagree with it. And I
was going to end my portion of the review.
Oh, well, go right ahead.
And now here's Leslie Hoban Blake with a most likely different opinion.
With a rebuttal, with a rebuttal. Sorry, well, yes, because I heard you saying these things and I couldn't let you get away with them. Thank you for that. I didn't know you were going to say that. So what would you give it?
Ooh, a very generous 3 playbills.
Oh, well, you know what I'm going to give it, right?
Oh, let me think. Are you going to give it more than the Thanksgiving play?
Yes, I'm going to give it 5.
Ooh,
I'm going to give it 5. I am in a giving vein this evening. I am in a giving mood. Yes.
Well, don't think twice. It's all right.
Oh, thank you very much. I wish I could have a comeback, but I wasn't thinking about that, so I don't. This is India Pale Ale, which answers the question, what does IPA mean on the label of a beer bottle? It means India Pale Ale. And among many things that this play tells us...
I had never asked, but good to know.
And among many things that it tells us, which is that the East India Company carried beer back and forth among the continents, and as they would take too long, the beer would go bad, so they kept adding hops to it, which made it paler. So the heavier beer became paler because of having more hops. I do not drink beer. I learned this from the play. I thought that was a charming idea. This young woman, whose name is, let me get this right, Shazi Raja, is a star, an absolute star. She's almost never off stage. She is the leading character in this play. She is a Punjabi American, and there are Punjabi Americans, it turns out, of the Sikh religion, where the men wear the headscarves that you see sometimes.
Well, women wear headscarves too, though.
No, the women were not. Well, yes, but they
were.
Yes, I'm sorry. No, you're right. But that's a traditional Muslim headscarf. The men, however, wear.
I think it's also. I think they're Hindus, aren't they? So I think it's also.
Or Hindu. I don't know. It never specifies the religion. The Sikh is the religion, and usually it's the men that you identify. But all women in that part of the country wear the scarves, so I honestly don't know the answer. And the play didn't tell me the answer to that. But it told me so many other things. And it's an interesting play because it's a combination of a sitcom that takes place in this Punjabi household where the kids are American, but they wear the outfit the way they're supposed to, and yet they say things and they call each other bro and bra, and they are this family in Wisconsin And actually, there was a glossary I was going to show
and
you.
There's also, but they also refer to their ancestor, a pirate known as Blackbeard.
No,
Excuse me,
Brownbeard.
excuse me,
Brownbeard. Very
Brownbeard.
important that
Yes,
it not be
absolutely.
Blackbeard.
And in fact, there is a scene that goes back to his ship in a storm. And I think you're forgetting about the second part of the play.
No, I didn't. I didn't get to it. But I was about to show you that there was actually a glossary to start telling some of the Punjabi words, and then the playwright said, "No, forget about it. We don't have to do that. It'll be explained by the play. There's a lot of food
We're
and
at the
eating."
same time, she's hoping someday it will not have to be explained, and we'll just.
Well, her name is Jacqueline Blackhouse, by the way, and so she's Punjabi and German, which is a very interesting combination. So, living in Wisconsin. But when the young girl talks to her father and says, "Look, we have Brownbeard. Brownbeard's spirit has come to me. Brownbeard is making me leave. I'm going to leave and open a bar," which is a crazy thing. It comes out of nowhere. And she just broke up with her boyfriend, and her brother is engaged to a young woman, and they're so Americanized. They're doing all of the Punjabi things, but they're so Americanized. And then something terrible happens. There's a shooting, and the father is killed. And also many of their
And the
friends
shooting
and
takes
relatives
place
in the temple. And coming on the heels of what happened in Pittsburgh,
Right.
you realize that this is so timely. There's no way that it would have been known.
More timely than it had meant to be.
Yes.
And I think this is kind of why I found the second act a little more interesting, because it had that, but also because it has the scene where the young lady imagines she's on a ship with her ancestor.
Yes. Well, and her father plays Brownbeard.
Plays Brownbeard.
And all of them, and it's a scene where it's a vision that she has because it helps her come to what she needs to do in the next
Right.
part of it.
And where they're discussing whether to reopen this center or not.
And they decide to have it. They decide to have what they call a langrum.
And I'm looking at this versus how my synagogue, how Tree of Life synagogue
Right.
that shouldn't took place reacted to that. To me that extra timeliness gave the play a certain boost.
Well, but the awful thing is that it's probably always going to be timely in this, and it kills me to know. I shouldn't say that. Bad choice of words. But it's so sad to think that that's the truth. Langar is what it is. It's a vegetarian feast with friends and neighbors, and they make the feast on the during the thing, and they bring out, and at the very end, it becomes a little preachy, where they start to talk about we all have to live together and how can we come back together, and then they give out samosa to the entire audience, and that's so bizarre. And the idea is, if you eat with us, we will all be friends, which is almost simplistic and yet is very loving and almost childlike.
And again, in view of the synagogue shooting, it has a certain ring to it that it might not have had we seen this play a few weeks earlier.
Well, this young lady, this playwright, has wrote another play called Men in Boats, which I didn't get to see at the Playwrights.
Did any of them have brown beards?
I don't know because I didn't get to see it. And it was also directed by Will Davis. There's some lovely actors in this, including an older woman who's actually a cardiologist. She plays the grandmother, and she's a professional actress, cardiologist, which is kind of an interesting thing. And the main characters are, as I said, Shazi Raja as the girl. Her former boyfriend is Nick Sadwani. Her brother Iggy is Satya Surindra. I'm going to murder these names. I recommend that you look them up in a review in the paper somewhere, or look them up on Playbill online. I'm really sorry not to be able to say all of them, but yeah.
Your, did you?
I went in and out in the sense that at the end I didn't care for the ending because, as I say, I thought it was like too much of a too preachy. But I understand why they did it. And I understand why there's a need for that kind of thing, right. And the acting was sublime. Oh, and we got a Hindu dance. It was like a Bollywood film. We got that at one point, even though it's not a musical. There were so many facets, and it was a 2-hour play. We've been seeing a lot of 90-minute plays, so my number would be 4.5 for all the different elements and the food, which was lovely.
All right. Well, I couldn't have the food, but
it was just potato in there.
Don't know if I quite agree with you on the amount of playbills, but I certainly would like to see the next work that this playwright does.
Yes. Yes.
I certainly found this to be a very interesting evening. I don't know, I hate to use the word educational.
Well,
But
that's, when I said preachy, that's really what I was saying.
It was certainly something that you can empathize with, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And I agree with you about this young lady. I think we'll be seeing a lot more
The young actress.
of
Yeah.
her. However, I am only going to go as far as 3.5 playbills.
No, we're not that far apart on this then.
No,
But I did enjoy myself. I had a lovely evening. I wasn't sure what I was going to think, and I had a lovely evening. So you have 2 for us now,
I
right?
have 2
That I didn't see.
Yes.
I was
And
very
this
sick.
is, well, this is Apologia, which, to me, the most exciting part of it. This is Alexei K. Campbell, and the most exciting part is that it brings Stockard Channing, who's given so many amazing performances on Broadway over the years.
Can you hold it up so we can
back,
see it? Yeah.
Yeah, okay, back to the stage. And yes, this is Rizzo from Greece, but believe me, she's done so much more than that. She is this American by birth, Britain by choice. She's this scholarly. She's also very 60s radical, very judgmental, very, well, she can be nasty at times.
Okay.
And she is celebrating her birthday, and her 2 children, both played by Hugh Dancy, come to see her.
Oh, like in different time, like
different times, yes.
I'd like to see that.
Well, one shows up, and then the other shows
Right,
up after
right,
the first
right.
one has gone to sleep.
Oh,
And I
I'm
have to
sorry, I
say,
missed him.
Hugh
I love him.
Dancy gave 2 really excellent performances. You know, I don't even think you'll realize that
He's the same guy?
same.
Well, they will
guy.
now, you told them.
Well, or you could look at the playbill.
Yeah, right.
One who is slightly retarded, but somehow dating this really gorgeous model.
Is he on the syndrome or something?
No, he's just a
that's
bit,
an offensive word,
All
by
right,
the
I'm
way.
sorry. He's a bit. He's on the slow side. Let's
Okay.
put it that way. And again, Channing kind of dominates the first act, being a not nice person. And then in the second act, her sons kind of confront her, one at a time, obviously. My dad took you were taken away from us when we were boys, 9 and 7. Why didn't you fight for us? And we see this book, and it's all about your work, but how come you didn't mention us?
Oh, you didn't
And what
mention
kind of a
this
mother-
book. What, she wrote a book? You didn't mention that, I
writes a
see.
book.
Okay.
She's written a book.
And the boys aren't in
And,
it? I
in the
see.
second act, you kind of feel sorry for her. There's a part of you that says, oh, you feel sorry for, any parent being confronted by her children that way. And then, on the other hand, you're thinking, well, she's getting hers. And there's a $2,000 dress being worn
By whom?
one of the ladies, by the second son's girlfriend, the one who we see later in the play. And you just know that
Something bad's gonna happen.
bad is going to happen, and golly gee, it
does.
does.
Who directed this?
Who directed this?
Oh, Daniel
Daniel
Auken, yeah. Well, he's quite
And
a
this is,
convert.
this is at the Roundabout.
Right.
And it is wonderful to have Stockard Channing back. I enjoyed the play. I wasn't overly enamored by it. I was kept thinking, oh, why isn't Leslie here? I'm sorry.
No,
I know it wasn't your fault.
I
Wasn't she
know.
really? Listen, this is a woman who, after a show, said, I asked, can I drop you somewhere? She said, well, maybe the emergency room would be good. This is after doing 2 shows, so. Believe
Yeah,
me,
I don't
she's a
miss
trooper.
things.
She's a trooper.
Thank you. That's very nice of you to say.
But
What would you give
I
it?
would give it 3 1/4 playbills.
Oh, okay.
I think you would have given it more.
You think I would have liked it
I
more?
think you would have liked
Oh,
it
okay.
more. Second play.
Well, I'm a mother of a son. I don't know how I would have felt about that. I might have
Well, I don't
taken
think
that
you would-
personally.
I think yes, but I'm pretty sure you kind of raised your son.
I did.
And
Yes, I
I don't
wasn't
think
taken.
you
No,
left him,
no, I did
so-
not leave him, and he was not taken away from
And
me.
you know
no.
what? Even if you do raise him, they're still at some point going to tell you.
Of course, of course, it goes with the territory.
And you just sit back.
And it doesn't end
and
either.
Wait and say, yeah, well, wait until the grandchildren get here. That's
Yeah. Well,
Anyway, so this is What the Constitution Means to Me, written and performed by Heidi Schreck, and it's directed by Oliver Butler, very appropriately named because Heidi did indeed put herself through college by touring these, I forget what kind of club.
Chautauqua kind of things where people talk.
Kind of Rotary clubs.
Rotary
that,
clubs,
that
yeah,
have, like,
yeah.
that were holding contests
Right.
on what the Constitution means to me, and she mentioned her closest competitor, and she basically won most of her. And then she goes on and explains, tries to recreate her speech, and then goes on and talks about the Constitution, what we got right, what she thinks we're not getting right.
Does she talk about her younger self and how she feels?
She does, and it's almost a shame that this was all written before Trump was challenging
Right. The
the
Constitution,
The
yes.
Constitution, basically, about regarding being born, whether you're a citizen, if you're born
Birthright,
here or
yeah.
not. I'm sure she would have had a lot to say about this. She knows about the Constitution, and then she recreates this contest. These contests are still being held. And there were two young ladies who would come and do this with her. I saw Rosdaly Ciparan, and their debate was, should we keep the Constitution or should we not keep the Constitution? And Shrek is actually, says, if I thought it could be replaced in a quarterly, I would say against it. Rosdaly argued against, and I think she totally won. The audience, at least the audience felt
Really?
she won. I thought
Wow.
she won for keeping the Constitution. Basically,
She was really a little girl?
oh yeah, she's I think about 14 years old, and
Well, that's a teenager.
really, all right, fine, but really held her own with Heidi. And you know what I loved about it the most? We had a civil debate. No one was shouting. The audience was allowed to cheer and allowed to boo, but when we did so respectively, and it's so nice. It really is. So we're running out of time. All in all, I like this. I would give it 4 playbills, but I have one complaint. She spends a lot of the time talking about discrimination and how the Constitution either did not prevent discrimination or aspects of discrimination were ignored, and she's right. And then she makes, a couple of, when she was, after the play, we had there was an after-play
a talk back, yeah.
And the woman who introduced it said, I run this website, and anybody can get on. We allow all types, unless you're a man. And I thought, well,
Wow.
it seems to me, and then there was a remark that Heidi made, and it seems to me, Heidi, that in complaining about discrimination,
Right.
and
Right.
seems you've got a couple of demons that you need to exercise here. But I would still give this 3 3/4 or even 4 because I really enjoyed the evening.
But also on the educational side, the way Thanksgiving was,
yes.
the way Pale Ale was,
And
Pale India Ale.
I think even more so.
Okay.
And they handed out copies of the Constitution too. So
Oh, you didn't tell me that. You should have brought that to show.
Okay.
Like, here's the
And-
Constitution
that is our show for this evening. And when you go to the theater, look for Leslie and me, us too.
on the aisle.